On this episode of Coffee Break Blogging, we're going to talk about Facebook page likes and Twitter followers, and basically any of these vanity metrics that many people think about. The big question we're going to ask ourselves here is, how much does our follower count really matter? Now, here with Coffee Break Blogging right now, we're kind of talking about various topics having to do with building our traffic. And the truth is that many bloggers out there are still ranking pretty high the importance of Facebook fans and Twitter followers in how much traffic that they receive. And so they put a lot of focus on that. They really try really hard to get lots of people to connect with them on Facebook or to follow them on Twitter. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to put a few stats in front of you. We're going to specifically look at the organic reach and actual performance of these two social networks, Facebook and Twitter. Now, the first one with Facebook, and this is organic reach. Now, if you're not familiar with organic reach, all that means is that it's the amount of people based on percentage, typically, that you will reach when you post something on Facebook, and you will reach them for free. So organic means you're not paying for it. So, if you have 1,000 people who are connected to you on Facebook, and let's just off the top of our head say that 100 people see your update, that would be a 10% organic reach. Now, you could always bump it up higher than that by paying for it, but we're talking about non-paid here. So here's a few analytics, a few average statistics that I found from a report put out by an analytics firm called LocoWise. And they said that link posts on Facebook, on average, get an 18% organic reach. So on average, if you have a link post, let's say to your blog or something like that, then you would have about 18% of the people who you are connected with will actually see that post. Okay? Now, video posts on average get about a 9% organic reach. A text post also likewise gets about a 9% organic reach. And then photos are about a 7% organic reach. And then interestingly is that it drops as the size of your page grows. So as your Facebook page gets more and more people connecting to it, these numbers go down. Now, I don't want you to read into this by saying, well, if link posts are getting the best organic reach, I'm now going to post nothing but link posts. That's not the way to look at it. At the end of the day, all this organic reach business comes down to the EdgeRank algorithm. And EdgeRank is Facebook's way of filtering out noise. Now, in the last episode, we talked all about user experience and user engagement when it comes to SEO of our blogs. Well, in the world of Facebook, that's the exact problem that Facebook is trying to deal with. They are using various signals as a way of demonstrating that the people who are seeing your updates actually want to see them. Okay, so if people are not generally reacting to the types of things that you're putting out there, your organic reach is going to drop. So these figures that I just gave you from LocoWise, they are averages. But I also want you to understand that they do go up and down depending on your habits. If you've got a Facebook page with 10,000 fans and you're just link dropping constantly, you're not going to get an 18% organic reach on that, despite what LocoWise says, because you're just link dropping and adding no value to your page, okay? Now, the reason I gave you those statistics was just to show you how far your updates get. And a lot of newbies have expected that, well, if 1,000 people are following me on Facebook, then it's kind of like Twitter. I'll post and those 1,000 people will see it and they either click or they don't. Well, that's just not the case. Actually, most people who are connected to you will literally not even see your update. Okay? Now let's move over to Twitter. Now, Twitter is a different thing. They don't have any EdgeRank algorithm. They don't hide updates from people. It's basically a big fire hose. So it's a very, very high noise ratio. So the big thing that we're looking at there are people actually reacting? Are they clicking on our tweets? Well, according to some data that I found, the average click-through ratio, at least with this particular report that I saw, on Twitter was 1.64%. So you put out a tweet and 1.64% of people might actually act upon it. Not a very high number. And I can also tell you that I don't know what the actual number is off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look, but it's on par, like probably lower than that. And in fact, this same exact study says that users with more than 10,000 followers tend to have an even lower click-through rate. They said 0.45% click-through rate. And I can just tell you off the top of my head that that's probably in the neighborhood of what I get on my, because I do have, at least as of now, I probably have in the neighborhood of 15,000 followers on Twitter, because I really don't put a lot of attention on the darn thing. I do send things on it, but I don't try to grow my followers, and it shows. So I've got about 15,000 people following me on Twitter, and if I post something out there, it's probably about in that neighborhood, probably about 0.5%. And so with numbers like this, these organic reach problems on Facebook, with the really low engagement rates with Twitter because of the high degree of noise, you do have to ask yourself, is this really where we should be focusing? Should we spend a lot of time trying to grow our fan base on Facebook, or trying to grow our followers? Or maybe should we spend some time on things that are a little bit more important, a little bit more leverageable? And we also have to consider a very important fact here, and that is that you can pay to reach anybody that you want, and you're going to have a higher reach while you do it. So take the world of Facebook. I don't have to have people connected to my Facebook page for me to reach them, okay? I can put a Facebook ad on there, give Facebook a couple of bucks, whatever it might cost, and I can reach anybody that I want with a much higher degree of targeting than if I were to just simply use the organic reach of my Facebook page. And not only that, I'm going to get better reach because, generally speaking, Facebook is now a pay-to-play world. If you want to get your message out, that is a form of marketing. And Facebook wants marketers to pay for it. Quite frankly, that's kind of the way it should be anyway. Okay? So when you consider the fact that I can pay to reach anybody that I want, you have to really question whether it's worth putting a lot of time into your Facebook page. I don't really need it, to be honest with you. Same goes for Twitter. I can use Twitter ads, and I can put my message in front of anybody that I want. If I wanted to target somebody else's followers and put my tweet in front of their followers, I can do that. All I got to do is be willing to float a few bucks over Twitter's direction. And so, do they really need to follow me? Absolutely not. They don't need to follow me at all for me to reach them on Twitter. So at the end of the day, follower counts are a form of social proof. I mean, they do make you look good. I mean, if you've got a large follower account, it makes you look like a badass, it makes you look popular, it makes you look famous. Great. But it does not necessarily translate over into real marketing results. Okay? So I would argue that it doesn't warrant a heck of a lot of focus. Okay? Here's what I do with regard to my social accounts. I invite people to follow me over there, but I don't engage in any unnatural methods to increase my numbers. And I don't recommend that you do that either. Don't do any weird, fancy tactics to try to get more Twitter followers or more Facebook fans. Don't run any weird contests and say you have to enter by liking me on Facebook or any of this crap, because you're going to get really untargeted people following you there. It messes up your organic reach with Facebook if you do that. I don't care if you've got 5,000 fans. If you bought them through Fiverr or something, you have a crappy Facebook page and you're not going to reach hardly anybody with that thing. And the same goes with Twitter. It's not hard if you're willing to engage in some shadiness to go out and rack up a Twitter account with 20,000 followers. It isn't that difficult, okay? Thing is, if you do it those ways with like buying followers and, doing the auto follow and unfollow game and all this crap people do, you're going to have a nice little number there. But at the end of the day, you're not going to reach that many people because they really won't give a crap about what you say. Okay, so you want to look at your social profiles as another touch point for your community, but it's not the primary thing. You want to have a race course that you own here. You want to own this particular thing. You want to have them in your world. And that means that you want to get them onto your email list. For sure. If you're going to do social, it would be more beneficial to get them into a Facebook group that you own than to worry about sitting there trying to get them to connect to your Facebook page. At least with a Facebook group, if you post something in there, they're going to get a notification. With a Facebook page, they don't. And so you really got to look at leverage here. Really look at where your time is best spent. At the end of the day, I don't think you should spend a lot of time trying to increase your followers. Just let it happen. Invite people to follow you over there. If they join your email list, which is a much, much more important thing for them to do, maybe in your welcome email, you invite them to follow you over on Twitter. But don't engage in any shenanigans to try to get them to do it because it doesn't matter that much. It really doesn't matter that much. Okay? I want to end off by reminding you of the big upcoming webinar on blog monetization. You can find this at blogmonetizationwebinar.com. At the end of the day, this episode is talking about how to build up traffic. And we've talked about now using social media organically in order to increase your followers, increase your traffic. But I mentioned in here in brief the idea that you can pay to reach anybody, and you absolutely can. Now, what we're going to be talking about at blogmonetizationwebinar.com has everything to do with your ability to be able to do that. Because if your first reaction is, I don't want to pay to reach anybody on Facebook, I don't want to spend money. If that's your first reaction, then I invite you to rethink that a little bit. And part of rethinking that is that you've got to have the ability to make some money from the money that you put into it. And that has everything to do with what we're going to be talking about on that big webinar at blogmonetizationwebinar.com. So it's a completely free training webinar that I'm going to be doing. I want you to come over, save your seat, and be sure to be there live. We're not doing any replays or anything like that. So you do need to come and join us when the webinar is actually happening, and you're going to find it to be a very valuable hour of your time. Okay? blogmonetizationwebinar.com. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next time.